Okay, well, I'll put it on screen so everyone can know what I'm talking about, and I'm not just talking to you. Um, this is the disbursements from the Ilhan for Congress campaign. Look, it's people being paid for canvassing, yard signs, processing fees, mail production and postage. Which, yeah, it's a lot of money, but guess what? It costs money to do mail production and postage, guys. Yeah, I I don't see what the issue is here. I, like, it would be an issue if, for example, Ilhan Omar's husband's business marked up their prices like 2 times and then charged the campaign that as a way of filtering money into their personal bank accounts, but they're not doing that. What? I'm not seeing millions of dollars. Let's see. Okay. Digital advertising, digital advertising. Let's see. Okay. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Digital advertising, digital advertising. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Digital advertising, digital advertising. As someone who has taken out digital advertising before, do you know that like it costs a lot of fucking money to advertise? Yeah, this is not like suspicious activity at all. Like, and we're talking about digital advertising campaigns going on since last year. So like, yeah, a year-long advertising campaign? Yeah, it's going to cost you a lot of fucking money. Yeah. What do you think like wait, William of Orange, do you think that like advertising for a political campaign is like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, where you get like the Boy Scouts who are super enthusiastic about their sitting senator to like go and like hand print out information and then run around town in like a little red wagon behind them, and they're just like rosy faced apple cheek goons going mailbox to mailbox? No, you have to pay people to do these things. Um, I would, yes, I would be suspicious of Trump spending a shitload of money on an Ivanka advertising campaign, largely because the Trump organization has a history of marking up their services when it's uh when their campaign is paying for it. Now, if we're going to be talking, by the way, in the interest of fairness, I guess, if we're going to be talking about really suspect campaign actions regarding donated money, let's take a look at this story. Donations under $8,000 to Trump's election defense instead go to the president. As President Donald Trump seeks to discredit last week's election with baseless claims of voter fraud, his team has bombarded his supporters with requests for money to help pay for legal challenges to the results. The left will try to steal the election, reads on one text. But any small dollar donations from Trump's grassroots donors won't be going to legal expenses at all, according to a Reuters review of the legal language in the solicitations. A donor would have to give more than $8,000 before any money goes to the recount account established to finance election challenges, including recounts and lawsuits over alleged improprieties. The fundraising disclosures show. The emailed solicitations send supporters to an official election defense fund, websites that ask them to sign up for recurring donations to protect the results and keep fighting even after Election Day. The fine print makes it clear most of the money will go to other priorities. A large portion of the money goes to Save America, a Trump leadership PAC, or Political Action Committee set up on Monday, and the Republican National Committee. Under Federal Election Commission rules, both groups have broad leeway in how they can use the funds. The Trump campaign, the RNC, and Trump's new Save America PAC did not respond to requests for comment. So, oh, yeah. Leadership PACs, such as Save America, are often set up by prominent political figures to spend money on other candidates while also paying for personal expenses, such as travel and hotel stays. The disclosures would allow Trump and the RNC to channel the donations into other political causes or campaigns, such as 2 high-stakes January Senate runoff races in Georgia that could determine control of the Senate and are likely to rank among the most expensive races in U.S. history. Trump's solicitation website carries a banner headline that says Official Election Defense Fund and Contribute Now. So, let's see. Oh, let's take a look here. If a Trump donor gave $500, for instance, $300 would go to Trump's Save America PAC, $200 would go to the RNC, and nothing would go to his election defense fund. This is some campaign misuse of funds. It might be legal because it's technically in the legal language. This is some really concerning shit. Now, William Orange, you would have to prove to me that this is an unreasonable amount of money to spend on these services. As it is, this seems like an extremely reasonable amount of money for Ilhan Omar to spend on her campaign. This is not an amount of money that raises alarm bells for me as someone who has done online advertising and worked in that. This is not something that alarms me in the slightest. Now, if we saw a huge discrepancy between, for example, if you can show me a huge discrepancy between Ilhan Omar's campaign disbursements and a similarly sized campaign and their disbursements in roughly similar circumstances, maybe then I could say, okay, yeah, that seems pretty sus. But just showing me, wow, and saying, wow, this looks like Ilhan Omar spent a lot of money on her husband's company, that's probably, you know, that seems like it's misappropriation of funds and like fraud. No, you have to do a little bit more work to prove that to me. As opposed to like the Donald Trump campaign that has a history of funneling money to places that donors aren't intending that money to go, and have a history of, for example, using political office to secure personal wealth. Like the constant violations of the Hatch Act. There are all kinds of things the Trump administration does and participates in actively all the time that violate these seeming perceptions of what we should accept. This, to me, does not even get close to the same territory. So you'd have to do more work. Here's some to Mitch McConnell's wife, only taking bids from companies that promise to do business with Mitch. Interesting. Let's take a look at these links. We're talking about election fraud, kind of. Not election fraud. What's the technical term for what we're talking about? Ongoing roundup of Trump administration malfeasance. Let's see. The official Secretary of Transportation, Elaine Chao. Chao, who is married to Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and who previously served as George W. Bush's labor secretary, faced back-to-back scandals this summer with a series of pieces about her and her husband's various public grafts. First, at the end of May, the Wall Street Journal published a report that Chao had failed to divest her shares in a crushed stone, sand, and gravel company, which supplied construction materials to the transportation sector, a year after she had promised to do so. In the meantime, she had netted more than $40,000. She has reportedly divested since the report came out. Well, that's good. A few days later, in early June, the New York Times published a 5,500-word feature on her family's shipping company, its deep ties to the government of China, the money it has provided Chao and her husband and his campaigns, and the Chao's apparent efforts to use her position to bolster the business. Among the highlights of that piece, Chao reportedly sought to include family members and relatives affiliated with the company in meetings with top Chinese officials during overseas trips. This was repeatedly stymied by Defense Department officials. In a response to a Senate confirmation questionnaire, Chao failed to list multiple honorary awards, titles, and appointments she had received in China. Her agency has proposed U.S. maritime program budget cuts that would hurt competitors of her family's business. She took at least 21 meetings or interviews with Chinese language media in her first year in office, including multiple appearances with her father, the company's former chairman. She attended an event celebrating a company deal that involved transit projects that fell under her oversight. She did not recuse herself from any decisions affecting the shipping industry. The Times also reported that 13 members of Chow's family had been given 1.1 million to or had given 1.1 million to McConnell's campaigns and the political action committees tied to him between 1989 and 2018. The paper noted that Chow's father had given a couple of gifts between $5 million and $25 million in 2008 that catapulted McConnell to become the 10th wealthiest senator. Interesting. Interesting. Huh. Yeah. That's only half of it. There's like so much more. So much more money. So, yeah. Nothing has been done about any of this. Penky-chan, yes. You can do all of these things. Here in America, we don't seem to care about people who make money off of their positions anymore. It's a nice anecdote? Wait, William of Orange, what you shared was an anecdote. You didn't provide any additional context to judge this by. This, if we're going to judge Ilhan Omar's campaign expenses and, like, conflicts of interest here, you should also be interested in judging Elaine Chow's conflicts of interests and Mitch McConnell's. Yeah, mine's simply a story. Yeah, okay. Alright. Sure, bud. I am, but I think your level of scrutiny isn't equal. You didn't have any scrutiny. You just said, here are numbers. I think they're pretty suspicious. Where's the data? I'm not your teacher. Go look up the data yourself if you want to. But, like, you also just presented data and said, this seems suspicious to me without giving any other data to judge it by. So, like, yeah, you just have a narrative too, bud. And you seem to be weirdly selective about which of these cases you're caring about. Oh, yeah, my level of scrutiny isn't equal. My dude, if my level of scrutiny isn't equal to yours, you should probably have provided me with another batch of data to compare against the first batch. Because you giving me data and saying this looks suspicious without any additional context, and with my experience looking at that data, I am like, well, this is pretty fine. It looks pretty all in order to me. You understand, like, you have nothing on your side. Versus what I showed. No, again, I have my personal experience with this. Yep, this all looks on the up and up to me. And then I have this story, which is backed up by Slate, a pretty well-known publication, backed up by the Wall Street Journal, fairly well-known and respected publication, backed up by the New York Times, fairly well-respected journal, and fuck. William of Orange, this is just as bad as the other day when the guy's like, well, you just have a picture on Reddit of a guy wearing a Nazi shirt. I don't think that doesn't convince me that he's a Nazi. I want you to find, like, actual images. I want you to find a video of him saying that he's a neo-Nazi. Like, no. Like, my dude, get your head out of your ass. Like, if you're going to just present me this data and say, hey, this looks pretty suspicious, and with my experience, I look at this data and I say, no, this actually looks pretty fine to me. And then your response when I look at another story of this is like, well, you're not scrutinizing this like I scrutinized this. Despite the fact that you didn't have any response to this. You just said it looked suspicious. That was your analysis. What the fuck are you talking about? I'm not saying that my data is necessarily compelling, but your ability to believe this story from Slate and to just say, nah, Ilhan is totally fine, is not holding those to the same standards. I'm able to hold these to different standards because I actually have experience with digital advertising. That's what I'm talking about. What I don't have experience with is being the Secretary of Transportation. Like, I don't have that experience. So I have to rely on the accuracy of these reports. If you want me to go through these reports, I can do that. But right now you're being kind of a little dick about this, and I don't understand why. I feel like I'm being really reasonable and spelling out very precisely the issues that I'm having here. So, like, I don't know, do you want me to go through each of these stories individually? I'm willing to do that. But, like, otherwise you just seem really... It doesn't look suspicious, though. This is how conspiracy theorists convince themselves reptilians are real. True. Hello, J-Boy G. Hello. Also, I've been looking at politics for a very long time. Elaine Chao is a very well-known conflict of interest source in Washington, D.C., and no one does shit about it. Like, yeah, I don't know how to, like, explain this better to you, but, like, this has been a well-known thing for, like, decades. But we can look into it, I guess. I guess I can prove something that is a well-known fact in Washington, if you really want me to. Let's see. Maybe I can open this in a incognito tab? Can I do that? Doot. Oh, nice! J-Boy G, I didn't know you were John on Discord. Hello! Don't know why I opened that Discord. Oh, excuse me. Here we go. This is what I wanted to open. Dang it, it won't let me read the whole thing. Oh well. Let's just take a look. Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao has retained shares in a construction materials company more than a year after the date she promised to relinquish them, federal disclosure forms show. Shares of the company, Vulcan Materials Co., the country's largest supplier of the crushed stone, sand, and gravel used in road paving and building, have risen nearly 13% since April 2018, the month in which Ms. Chao said she would be cashed out of the stock, netting her more than $40,000. Corporate and government filings show. The shares, now worth nearly $400,000, were paid out to Ms. Chao in April 2018 as deferred compensation for the roughly 2 years she served on Vulcan's board of directors before being confirmed as Secretary of Transportation. Weird. Weird how she just lied and made a profit from it, and that's somehow okay to you. Yeah, okay. Oh, 2017 ethics agreement. Oh, she broke a 2017 ethics agreement? Wowee. This seems like all things that you should be caring about if you genuinely cared about, corruption. I'm not brushing it off out of hand, but what I am doing is like, okay, yeah, it makes sense to me that you would work with a local advertising firm, and if one is run by your husband, and you are paying a decent market price for it, and they're not marking it up, seems fine to me. As far as I can tell, doesn't seem like they're marking up a campaign that spanned a year. Like, that's how much it would generally cost, yes. William of Orange, it genuinely shocks me. And it makes me extremely sus of your motivations when you're like, yeah, this very, very common expenditure for campaigns in the modern era is really suspicious, based with no additional data. Again, feel free to provide me with additional data from other political campaigns in Minnesota, I guess, if that's the standard we're going to use. Feel free to provide me with that information. But to me, this all looks pretty on board. Now, if you can provide me with more information that shows that it is not above board, then that's a different story. But when I then bring up another story of, like, fraud or, like, conflicts of interest or profiting off of your position, and I bring that up and you say, well, you're not scrutinizing that, I am honestly speechless because you haven't scrutinized the other thing at all other than to say it looks suspicious. And again, with my experience, I just don't think it's that suspicious. So yeah. Yeah, like it seems really disingenuous to me when you're like, well, that other story of fraud, you're not really looking into it enough, or conflicts of interest, you're not looking into it enough, and your scrutiny's not on my level, but also I don't seem to care about this story at all. You don't care about a congressman's wife with conflicts of interest, who was the former transportation secretary, who profited using her position and who has used her husband's position to profit herself. You don't care about that kind of. Okay, yeah, whatever, dude. But I would just say maybe you should seem like you care about both things rather than for some reason giving Ilhan Omar a lot of shit, despite the fact that her expenditures seem relatively common to me. Yeah, we were specifically talking about Ilhan Omar, and then someone else provided something else. I talk with a lot of people here. Moonshoe, thank you very much for the 100 bits. I very much appreciate it. Thank you very much. Also, Mooshoe, thank you very much. And welcome to the chat. I haven't seen you around before, so I hope you have a good time, okay? I'm usually not this heated. Let's see. That's not fair to me. We were already talking about Ilhan Omar before, which is why I brought it up. Yeah, but someone else brought up a counterexample from the other side, or rather a different example of actual fraudulent behavior and misuse of government funds and such from a different person, and you just kind of waved that off for some reason. Like, yeah, you understand I talk about a lot of different things. I'm not just talking to you. I'm talking with a bunch of people. But I was talking about something else that was on topic. No, this is the topic, my dude. The topic was election and like misuse of funds. That's the same thing that you're alleging for Ilhan Omar. Of course it's on topic. But the issue here is that, hey, thank you very much for the cheer. I very much appreciate it. Your pussy stinks. There's this one's from O-Blocking King Forever. King Von Forever? Wait, I don't know what that means. But, alright. Thank you for the 100 bits. I hope you're having a great night. But here's the other thing. Again, you presented data, and I said, this looks pretty in line for what my understanding of digital advertising. I don't know what else there is to talk about. You're just saying I'm wrong. Have you seen Unbreaking America with Jennifer Lawrence? What do you think about it? How do you think we end corruption? Let me take a look at that real quick. Unbreaking America. Oh, it's only 12 minutes. Yeah, we can watch this, I think. I don't think it's like a violation of... I don't think this is a violation of DMCA. We'll find out, I guess.
We are witnessing a total political system failure in America. If you're anything like me, you may find yourself constantly overwhelmed by everything that's wrong with politics. And when I say politics, I'm not talking about Democrats or Republicans. I'm talking about the flaws that exist in our political system, regardless of which party is in power. And I know it's hard to talk about politics these days, but look, the government is ours. We pay for it, so it needs to work for us.
True.
And right now it doesn't. And I mean, it really doesn't.
True.
So what's going on here?
Capitalism.
Is it Russian meddling in social media?
It's capitalism.
Is it him? Is it her?
It's capitalism.
No. Those two were the least popular presidential candidates since they began keeping track of such things. Only 4% of Americans have a great deal of confidence in Congress now. Just 4%.
Yep.
America is no longer even considered a full democracy. We are witnessing a total political system failure in America. which is the complete opposite of what our nation's founders had in mind. So I'm going to show you 3 lines that show what's causing this.
I would say our nation's founders had a very different version of America in mind, but you know, we'll skip by that for now. Oh yeah. I mean, true. Capitalism is not. This is not a problem. Like, how do I phrase this? It's not a bug. It's a feature. Like, this is the embrasure of capitalism by the United States. The corruption of our political process is a feature for capitalist intent. It's a feature, not a bug. So the solution is to combat capitalism and to retake our democracy, hopefully by amending our constitution. That would be nice. We're getting closer to doing that. That process is underway. But we'll see what Jennifer Lawrence diagnoses the problems of America as. Also, thank you, Anonymous Cheerer, for the 1 bit. Thank you very much.
How we can fix it and what you can do about it. So here's your first line. What I want you to do is take any issue you really care about and picture it on this line. This line comes from a Princeton University study that shows how public opinion influences the laws that Congress does or doesn't pass. They looked at 1,800 public opinion polls over a 20-year period, and we took their data and plotted it in this chart. See this horizontal line? That shows public support for a law amongst average Americans. This vertical line, that shows the likelihood of the public support leading to the passage of a law. When you plot it for the average American, you get a line that looks like this. There's your issue sitting on that line. If there is 0 support for a law, there's about a 30% chance that Congress is going to pass it. And if there is 100% support for something, the most popular thing ever, there's still a 30% chance that Congress is going to pass it. So the line is horizontal because no matter how much support there is among average Americans, there's still a 30% chance that Congress is going to pass that law. Princeton determined that the preferences of the average American appear to have only a minuscule, near zero, statistically non-significant impact on public policy. How in the hell does that happen? Consider this. Politicians are spending up to 70% of their time raising funds for re-election after they get into office. Why? Because in order to win a seat in the Senate in some races, you would have to raise $45,000 every single day, 365 days a year for 6 years to raise enough money to win. Now consider that only 0.05% of Americans give more than $10,000 to politics. And then you see why politicians have become completely dependent on the 0.05% of Americans, billionaires and special interest groups, who fund their campaigns. Meanwhile, you've got lobbyists writing our laws and donating to the politicians who pass them. We have a 2-party duopoly of Democrats and Republicans that makes it so that independents can't win, while the American people are leaving the major parties in droves. As you can see here, nearly half of American voters are now registered independent. And then there's gerrymandering, with politicians drawing the boundaries of their own voting districts into crazy shapes designed to prevent competition. Today, only 14% of House campaigns are actually competitive. 86% of them are not. And we wonder why young people feel that their vote doesn't matter. I've covered a lot here, but it all adds up to this vast ring of influence over our elected leaders. It's a corrupt system in which we, the people, have near zero influence over our own government. And that is sad. That is not the country I feel like I grew up in. But what's worse is that by allowing this to happen, we are causing the failure of the most important issues facing our nation. We're wasting trillions of dollars a year on fraud and abuse in our own government. 1 in 5 American children live in poverty. Our healthcare is the most expensive in the world. We have more people in prison per capita than Russia and China. We're losing jobs to the rest of the world, and we're not even doing enough to keep our air and our water clean for our children. America was founded on the promise of self-governance, but instead we have statistically non-significant impact on public policy.
Now, I do want to say, America was founded not on self-governance, but by governance by the wealthy landed class. Originally, you could only vote in America if you owned land. So, and you were white and you were a man. So, yeah. Exactly, Lady Raincloud. So, the idea that we were founded on self-governance is largely a myth that we are throwing back on the past. However, enfranchisement of minorities in this country has changed the game. However, in changing the game, capitalists, the wealthy landed white men, who have to some extent opened their doors and let in some other groups of people who are now similarly wealthy and share that class interest. This is something that they have now learned from, and that they have just simply made it so that elections are way too expensive to win without them. This is a huge problem. So, yeah, like, I know I wouldn't have been able to vote in America when it was founded. Are you kidding me? I'm willing to bet most people in America right now wouldn't be able to vote if we were going by what the founders of this country originally intended. And exactly, Super Collider, exactly. Don't hate the country, work to make it better, and that's exactly where I'm at, okay? I'm a patriot. I want everyone in this country to be able to live, to have life, liberty, and the ability to pursue happiness. That's what I want for everybody. But Jennifer Lawrence is making some good points here. So let's listen. Let's hear her out a little bit more, okay? Seems like she has made the case for corruption in the country. Let's see where this goes from here. What is her solution?
So the question is, how do we unrig this system? I'm obsessed with this idea, not just of unrigging it, but actually fixing it. That's when I met Josh.
This is it. This is the issue behind the issues. If we fix the system, we'll have so much more power to fix everything else. So I spoke to some of the most brilliant people in the country. Constitutional scholar Lawrence Lessig, Zephyr Teachout, and dozens of other constitutional scholars and experts and strategists. They all said the same thing. You could pass a law that would stop political bribery and fix our broken elections. And if you could do that, you could wrest power away from the corrupt establishment and put it back in the hands of the people. Here's how you fix our broken elections. End gerrymandering with independent redistricting commissions.
Create ranked choice voting so third parties and independents can run and win.
Implement automatic voter registration and vote from home.
And here's how we can crack down on political bribery. Overhaul lobbying and ethics laws and close the revolving door so politicians can't be bribed with high-paying job offers.
Guys, I love all of these policies. I love them. They are all very good. The issue is this one. Overhauling lobbying and ethics laws. This is the issue. We can't do these other things until we fix this one. However, don't give in to doomerism, guys. Don't give into doomerism. And Serious Twitch, also an excellent idea. We shouldn't have billionaires. We shouldn't have corporations. This is the thing. However, we do have other avenues to exert our power on a much smaller scale. Now, on a smaller scale, the states have an awful lot of power. And I need to talk about this, so let me look something up real quick. There we go. No, this isn't what I wanted. Okay, guys, what is I'm having a brain fart. What is the Revolt Rise? You'll know this, I'm sure. What is the name for when states call like a constitutional convention? Is it just called the Constitutional Convention? Like when enough states call, I think it's like over half the states. Okay. Okay, here's what we need to do. We need to exert pressure on low-lying state assemblies to pass these ethics and lobbying laws. And we need to amend our Constitution to bypass Congress. That is what I propose that we do. And I believe that a congressional convention... Let me take a look. Or a constitutional convention? Anyway, I believe that we have been making progress on this over like the last... Yeah, you need 2/3 of states. I believe that there are a number of states that have already passed resolutions to call for a constitutional convention. And we need to get 2/3 of the states to agree to this, which does seem like a lot. Okay, here we go. Currently, 5 states have passed resolutions applying for a limited convention under Article 5 to propose an amendment to the U.S. Constitution that will ensure the integrity of our elections, from Wolfpack's website. Wolfpack, incredibly based organization. Absolutely check it out if you would like, if you're interested in this kind of stuff and organizing. But this is, I believe, the way that we can fix lobbying and ethics and the way we currently address money in politics. We need to get private company capitalist money out of our politics, because right now Jennifer Lawrence is right. J-Law is right. You know, our system doesn't work. And we're not going to end gerrymandering. We're not going to end, we're not going to begin ranked choice voting. We're not going to get automatic vote registration until we're able to get money out of politics, because there is a lot of money behind the two-party system. There's a lot of money and moneyed interests that are behind, denying automatic voter registration, that are behind continuing gerrymandering. For example, like the American Legislative Executive Council, ALEC, they're the ones behind voter ID laws because they wanted to lock more people up into private prisons. Like, there are organizations that benefit from these ongoing initiatives. So what we need to do is, and I don't want to be doomer about this, but we need to organize on a local level, and it's going to be a lot of work. But the good news is it's a lot easier to get through to your local state politicians than it is to get through to your national politicians. It's a whole lot easier if your state politicians see a whole lot of angry people. Yeah, exactly. Revolt Rise is right. And I would defer to Wolfpack on this issue. They're much more knowledgeable about it than I am. And maybe we'll look into their position after this video. But yeah. Awesome, J-Boy G. That's amazing. If anyone's interested in local organizing, please reach out to J-Boy G. And hey, maybe we'll put a channel in the Discord for anyone who's interested in local organizing. That would be extremely valuable resource. Thank you very much for offering that. It's only a little, but I'll try to help how I can. You know, and that's the thing. That's the thing. We can do so much. Like, with each of us doing just a little and helping how we can make an actual difference, guys. It's the whole ethos of this channel, is doing what we can to make this world a better place. Is this being recorded? How can I access? Wait, is this being recorded? Like the Twitch show? Usually I put up, yeah, there will be a VOD. VODs of the stream stay up, I think, for like a week. And then I usually go through and I chop up the VODs into segments. So this will probably be a segment, yeah. And I put the highlights up. They stay up for indefinitely. And then I also upload segments to YouTube. So if you're interested in, if you need to go, I'm sure this specific segment will actually be saved for posterity, you know? So yeah, I'm super excited about all of this. And I love that Jennifer Lawrence actually has like a really based take on all of this. Like I wasn't expecting like ranked choice voting and gerrymandering, automatic voter registration, and you know, this is great. I want to see more of this from celebrities. And guys, if you are doomering right now, and I understand the inclination because there's a whole lot going on in the world, just remember that this is a Hollywood celebrity making the case for ranked choice voting and ending gerrymandering and automatic voter registration, overhauling ethics laws and lobbying laws, and all kinds of other policies that are typically really, really outside the realm of like normal political conversation. So
bribery,
yeah, let's
overhaul
finish this.
lobbying and ethics laws, and close the revolving door so politicians can't be bribed with high-paying job offers.
Mandate full transparency of political spending so we know who's trying to buy influence.
Give every voter a $50 or $100 tax voucher so politicians spend time fundraising from their constituents, not just that 0.05% that I talked about earlier.
If you could pass even just some of these reforms, you...
Okay. Yeah, all of these are really good ideas. And I support them, to be 100% honest with you. So this is a really good sign. And this is why I want you to make sure that, like, you are not doomering right now, because we're winning. Like, our position is winning, guys. Socialism is an extension of democracy, and we need to preserve and protect democracy in order to have socialism. At least that's my view. You know, if we're not going to have it via revolutionary means, we need to have it via evolutionary means, and this is our path forward. What are the best free ways to support me? Hit the follow button, which you have already done. Thank you very much. And thank you to Human On Dancer, and thank you to Super Collider for all of you hitting that follow button. We're building up a community here. And we are going to change the world. Mark my words. We're only at 546, but just like a week ago, we were at like 250. So, my guys, we're only going up from here. You can also head over to the YouTube channel. I believe there's a link, but if not, I can throw a link in the chat right now. Riverboat Jack YouTube. There we go. There you go. You can follow on YouTube if you'd like. Nice. And you can also feel free to join the Discord, where we share pictures of animals and all kinds of other stuff. And talk about politics, of course, and our personal lives, and be cool and based. Yeah, I don't know, if you want to see my selfies, I guess you can also follow me on Instagram. There you go. Well, yes, and very gay. True. Many of us are very gay. So, yeah, these are all ways you can support me. You know, retweet the stream on social media. You know, share whatever videos or highlights you think are cool. All that stuff. It all helps, okay? I am very trans and gay. Same. Hello. We have a lot of trans and gay and veteran Marines in our community. It's very wonderful. Bye, King. Indeed. I will back up the Discord. I will back this up. The Discord is based and gay. True. We should have, after this is over, I'll add a safe for work selfie channel where we can all be build each other up and tell each other how pretty we are, okay? Yeah, the only options are trans, gay, or ex-Marine. Those are your starter classes, okay? Let's finish this video. NSFW channel when? I don't know. I'm iffy on that one. Maybe when we get a lot bigger, okay?
Would undo that ring of influence and begin to reinstate we the people as the most important influence over our elected leaders. So we took all of these reforms and put them in a model law and named it the Anti-Corruption Act. And get this, 87% of Americans support making the Anti-Corruption Act the law of the land. Look at the breakdown. 91% of Democrats and 83% of Republicans. It's incredible. Now you might be thinking 9 out of 10 Americans. Surely Congress will pass it. But on this issue, more than any other issue, it's like asking the fox to put a lock on the henhouse.
Yeah.
Politicians won in the current system, and they have an incentive not to fix it.
True.
So we need to go around Congress.
True.
In this case, by passing anti-corruption acts in cities and states all across America. Now, every time I say this, people look at me and say, how does passing city and state laws lead to fixing all of these problems with the federal government?
Can I do this part?
Go for it.
So, first of all, the U.S.
Okay. You know, you know what? We can have multiple avenues. This sounds like a really based set of laws and policies. I'm in favor of this. But I would be more in favor of a constitutional amendment. However, despite that, we can do both. I think it's probably a whole lot easier to get a constitutional amendment passed if we have these laws passed. So, let's try and do both.
The U.S. Constitution gives states sole control over how elections are run, even federal elections. So when we fix gerrymandering or election laws, that fixes the federal election in each state. That means that by going state by state, we have an immediate impact on how we elect Congress and how we hold them accountable.
Exactly,
But there's
Lady
more,
Starfire.
and that brings us to our second line. This line is from a Bloomberg News study. It finds that throughout American history, passing state laws leads to federal victory. Let me show you what I mean. This chart shows the number of states over time that pass laws giving women the right to vote. When it hits the right side of the chart, that's the federal victory. Okay, now I want you to watch the blue line. We're gonna do this again with interracial marriage. There were a few states in the Northeast that made it legal decades ago, and centuries go by, and we hit this blue line where all of a sudden there's a rush of activity, which leads pretty quickly to federal passage. So here we are again with same-sex marriage. One state, Massachusetts, for many years. A couple decades later, we hit that blue line, a jump in state activity and federal passage. This isn't about these issues. This is about a winning political strategy. The crucial finding in the Bloomberg study is that a key event, often a court decision or a grassroots campaign reaching maturity, triggers a rush of state activity that ultimately leads to a change in federal law. So fixing this problem is possible, but how do we create our trigger moment for this issue? Well, the grassroots campaign from the study, that's Represent Us. We're bringing conservatives and progressives together to pass anti-corruption laws all across America using 3 strategic innovations: right-left coalitions, calling out corruption, and building a movement, a big movement. And I'm gonna break them down for you.
Can I do this part?
No. First, right-left. This is how people self-identify in America. This isn't party identification. This is how you feel politically. And as you can see, it's 25%
Where am I on
liberal,
the chart?
36% conservative,
Where am
and
I on the
34%
chart?
moderate.
Jennifer
But for the past
Lawrence.
40 years,
Jennifer Lawrence, where am I on this chart? Where am I on this chart, you monster? I feel erased right now. This is transphobic. It's a made-up chart. Yeah, I am aware. I'm aware. But you know what though? I love that this is where I think Jennifer Lawrence is probably a liberal, right? I love that this is where liberals are at. If liberals are going to be doing anything, I would prefer them to be doing this. But I think that this is great. I think that just as leftists have Wolfpack, we should also have like the mainstream version of Wolfpack. And if J-Law can make this go, viral, can make this put into the like mainstream zeitgeist, I guess this is This is a really good thing. Guys, this is like a really nice hope pill for me. I was honestly thinking that like we were really far away from having like a mainstream acceptance of something like this. What would you be? What's Wolfpack? Wolfpack is an organization that I believe was created by the Young Turks founder, Cenk Uygur, and along with several other people, I think also, I forget who else. But Wolfpack essentially is an organization that, much like this organization in this video, they push for getting money out of politics. The goal of Wolfpack, though, is to basically to pass an amendment to essentially get money out of politics, like a constitutional amendment. And to do that, they go to state by state to get the states to basically say, yes, we will push for this amendment collectively, and then you just need 2/3 of them to do that. And it also supports progressive candidates. And this Jennifer Lawrence organization is going to be pushing for much the same thing, just in legislative terms, state by state. With the understanding that it would become like federal law if enough places pick up this law. So, yeah, I think this is generally good.
Forms I've outlined. It's liberals speaking to liberals using...
Oh, wait. Hey, because of the paywall on Wall Street Journal, I did some research on how to get through paywalls on news sites, and I think I found a way. I'm like 99% sure it will work. It works for me, at least. So if you want help downloading it, No. I'm good. I'm good, dude. I'm good. I would like to get to a point where I feel like I have enough wealth coming in from this channel that I can just buy subs on these things so that I don't have to keep subverting paywalls. But thank you very much. That method might be useful for other people who can't afford subscriptions, though. So hold on to it for other people, okay? That's praxis, comrade. It's praxis. I get it's legally iffy. Yeah, maybe a little. Yeah.
Liberal language with liberal messengers, liberal. I just had to say that one more time. And you're just not going to change the political power structure of America with 25% of the people. Fixing corruption requires that we enlist all Americans, liberal, conservatives, and moderates who, as we've shown, overwhelmingly support reform. Number 2, corruption. When we talk about money in politics, gerrymandering, democracy, campaign finance reform, most people just tune out. But people are fired up about corruption. And number 3, we must build a movement, a big movement comprised of all kinds of people from all across America fighting to pass anti-corruption laws, and then make sure they are implemented and protected. So again, liberals and conservatives working together, corruption, and build a movement. This is the foundation of Represent Us. We believe the government should work for every American, not just a handful of billionaires and special interests. But it's not just an idea. In a few years, we've already racked up 85 wins all across the country. And if we can get those 85 wins to 850 wins, we can fix our corrupt political system, save America, and get to work on fixing everything else that's broken in our country. This is how we build this movement big enough to trigger that rush of state activity that leads to a change in federal law.
Triggering the state is good praxis, okay? What I'm going to say here, though, is that everything she said, incredibly based. I agree with it. We should definitely pursue this. We should also pursue Wolfpack's policy. And also, I think that the people who would get involved with this, a right-left coalition to better America, those are the kind of people that we need to appeal to as socialists. Okay? So, like, when I'm talking about socialism, what I want is to fundamentally give everyone in this country more freedom, which is essentially the same thing that these people want by solving corruption, because corruption is a corruption of our process that protects our freedom and our agency. So this is something I'm extremely excited about. If we have a coalition like this, if we involve ourselves in liberal coalitions like this, we can win over more people. This is something that can be fundamentally good for society. This is something that I'm extremely excited about, and I'm really glad that I knew it existed. I don't remember who sent this to me in chat, but this has been incredibly based and informative. I think it was corrupt politician A. Thank you very much.
And that brings us to our last line. Right now, this is you. And right now, these are all of the ways that you can help us go state by state, city by city, to fix the corruption in American politics. Volunteer and join a Represent Us chapter. Or, if that's not your thing, join the
Based just means good. It's another way of saying good.
Commonwealth to make a monthly donation in support of someone who does volunteer. 100% of your money goes straight to passing these laws, not to overhead or our expenses. Every voice matters. Your voice matters. If you do nothing, nothing changes. But if we all do a little, we can win together. So the only question left is this. Will you cross that line? Join us at represent.us.
All I'm going to say is that Revolt Rise, you're generally pretty right. However, I do think that the best way for us to reach liberals is to put ourselves in proximity to them. And I know that that's something that a lot of lefties don't want to hear, but I think that one of the best ways to reach both conservatives and liberals is to, like, interact with them like human beings, right? Like, the whole point of socialism is connecting people. It's about reversing the atomization of capital. And I think that when we do that, when we do genuinely connect with these other people, when we make that effort, that's a revolutionary action, right? Like, yeah, crossing that divide to bring people together, that fundamentally flies into into the very face and the very idea of capitalism, the very system that broke us apart in the first place. So, yeah, I think if we can join organizations like this and work with people who have, you mean socialists have to be social? Well, I mean, it definitely helps, you know? It helps. So, it's this kind of praxis that we need to embrace, and whether that is online or in person or going for a hike and like having a pizza party, like, these are all opportunities for us to talk about how socialism can make our lives better and can make the lives better of other people that we connect with. This is good. And if we can make these connections while also working together with people to undo corruption, I view that as a win-win. This seems like an extremely good thing. Look, we can eat the libs later, okay? Some of those libs, they're pretty tasty. But the libs, more than anything, we need to be able to reach liberals, because liberals are, I believe, the main roadblock to getting our agendas passed. On the left, anyway. So this is why we need to win them over. We need to do a better job reaching them, and working through mainstream organizations like this is a perfect way for us to do so. Because you know what liberals aren't going to do? Liberals aren't going to be joining the DSA anytime soon. They aren't going to do that. Liberals aren't going to be joining the Socialist Rifle Association. So yeah, this is where we're at. And you know what? I know this might be something that's really hard for a lot of people to stomach, but I'm going to say it. We need to cut it out with the eat the rich shit. Because yeah, rich people do really shitty things in this country. They really do. But I think our society is a lot more complicated than a lot of people like to make it out to be. And while it is fun to hate on the rich, we also need to acknowledge that we can make those rich people class traders, and that would help us immensely in a number of ways. And the rhetoric of eating the rich, or kill all the rich, or whatever permutation of this it is, I think that is something that drives away liberals. Yes, and Revolt Rise is absolutely correct. So when I say don't use the rhetoric of like eat the rich, what I mean is when you are trying to win over liberals, don't just go full on, yeah, I want to kill the rich and take their stuff. Like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. I'm talking about practical means of reaching people, okay? Yeah, have decent optics. Be aware of how you are presenting yourself and how you're presenting your ideas. Because it's really hard for a middle-class liberal to get behind ideas from socialists when they're also packaged with eat the rich, you know? And Revolt Rise brings up a good point. Liberals ultimately led to the ascension of Hitler, and we need to do everything possible to prevent that from happening in the United States. And to that end, this is why I'm trying to advocate for better optics from our the people who are pushing for leftists to win. You know, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez didn't win her seat in the Democratic Party by going out onto a platform and calling for like the beheading of Bill Gates. No. Like we should be following in that example as best as we can, because this is what reaches libs. How do we rebrand socialism in Republican terms? Because they like the ideas, they just don't like the word socialism. I think that we rebrand socialism as an extension of freedom and democracy. That's something that I've been trying to do with my rhetoric more lately. And it's something that I think is really valuable, because Republicans speak in the terms of America, and America is something that is kind of like the mythos of America, or like the aesthetic of America, is something very much inseparable from the Republican Party. And so what I would say is that we need to not make like our socialism nationalist. I don't think that at all. But what I do think is that we need to present it as something that extends everything that makes America great. You know, we have more freedom if we're socialist, and that's undeniably true. We have more freedom if we're socialist. We have more ability to move around economically if we're socialist. We have excellent economic arguments for being socialist. We have amazing ways to help people if we're socialist. Like, a lot of Republicans, they care a lot about veterans, and they should. Veterans deserve a lot in this country. And they have the perception that the left doesn't care about veterans. Well, you know what would really help veterans in this country? Better mental health care. So if we're offering to decommodify mental health care, if we're offering to give mental health care to every American, that's good, like good health care, yeah, they would get behind that. And we need to just be able to rebrand a lot of these things in a way that reaches what Republicans and conservatives care about. Let's see. I don't think I could get a liberal to come near me. Yeah. Also talk about small business, talk about freedom, small government, guns. By the way, a lot of like the Trumpers and like Republicans that I've talked to, especially in the Midwest, they're incredibly pro-worker co-op, because a lot of them work in small towns. A lot of them are exposed to farmers. A lot of them are familiar with worker co-ops, because worker co-ops tend to be in agricultural sectors. So a lot of farmers, a lot of middle America people yeah, they're on our side when it comes to worker co-ops. They're on our side when it comes to helping veterans and giving people better health care. Like, these are things that we can make a ton of bridges on. Um, and like small business, self-governance, the right to be able to determine your agency within a company, these are things that people fundamentally like. And especially if we're arguing from a point of market socialism, like we can make it clear that socialism doesn't mean that we're getting rid of like money or like we're getting rid of the ability to go out and buy things that you like. So these are all a lot of things that we can get through to people on. And I've had this experience, by the way. Like, I went on a panel, I think on Halloween, and I talked to a Trump supporter, I think called Redneck. And Redneck was extremely, probably on the panel, who was the most open to ideas of socialism. He was open to ideas of worker co-ops. He was open to ideas of health insurance and mental health insurance and all of these things. Yeah, putting more control in the hands of the people, because fundamentally, worker co-ops are an extension of democracy into the workplace. And if you are a fan of America and American democracy, you should also be a fan of undoing the tyranny of corporations through democracy. Exactly. And like, you can make excellent pitches for the Green New Deal as being like a job creating program, as investing in technology, being good, hardworking jobs that for honest American folk. Yeah, like these are things that we can do, and we can reach people. This is a genuine spark of hope for us. And exactly, Rye, you're absolutely spot on. We need to be able to brand ourselves better and be more aware of our optics. And also, one of the main things, when you make arguments for worker co-ops, one of the worries that a lot of these people have is of businesses that keep their small towns alive moving overseas. Guess what doesn't move overseas? Worker co-ops. Worker co-ops don't generally vote to voluntarily move their company to a different country. So these are the things that I think we need to be advocating for. And I think that we can make really good arguments for a lot of these things, even when it comes to decommodification, even when it comes to that. Like, yeah, it is pretty bullshit that, like, you can't get good internet in this country, right? Yeah, it's like we have a lot of different companies that provide internet. Why? But it's not bringing the price down. Instead, it seems like you have a monopoly in your area. Maybe the government should lay down those lines, like the government lays down electrical wire. Maybe these things are helpful. Good night, corrupt politician A. I appreciate you being here. I'm glad you brought up this wonderful Unbreaking America video. So yeah, we can make good arguments for this, because a lot of Republicans, despite being in favor of capitalism generally, are not in favor of monopolies. And oftentimes, there are monopolies built on top of things that people need in order to live. And I think that that's bad, and I generally think that most Republicans think that that's bad too. Urus McProll, have a good evening. We will be back tomorrow, so don't go too far, okay? Starlink is coming. That may help, although a private company. Yeah, I mean, maybe. We'll see. I'm not, like, Revolt Rise pointed out to me a while ago, We paid like a couple $1 trillion to or a couple $1 billion to lay internet cable across like the rural areas in America, and it's like not even a third done. Yeah. Oh, sorry, $1 trillion. We paid $1 trillion to of public money to lay internet, high-speed internet across America. It's not even a third done because it went to private companies. So yeah, maybe the government should just do that instead. It would save us money, and probably be more effective. And at the very least, is has to respond to us about its progress and has to be accountable. Unlike a private company just goes, "Whoop, we couldn't do it. Sorry." Okay. Yeah, this is done. I don't know who Josh Silver is. I'm gonna look him up real quick. Josh Silver. Nope, not Josh Silverman. Josh Silver. Josh Silver, not the keyboardist. Here we go. The nonprofit director. RepresentUs. Background. Education, Evergreen State College, University of Grenoble in France. Okay, so he doesn't really have a background in anything. Wait. Formerly served as CEO and founder of Free Press, activist group that promotes accountability journalism and the internet openness. He served as the director of development for a cultural arm of the Smithsonian Institution and was the campaign manager for the successful 1998 clean elections ballot measure in Arizona. He's published widely on democracy media. Okay, he seems pretty cool. Generally. He's probably he's probably a lib, but like a good one. He's one of the good ones. Yeah, the New Deal was the deal that he offered to appease the socialists. Can I shout out the name of the Insta account for my local activist org? Absolutely. Send it to a mod. Actually, no, I'll just make you a mod here because you're also a mod on Discord. There you go. All right. We have so many mods now. I love it. Okay. I was going to cover other things. What was I going to talk about? Oh, yeah. Just some bad news. Top official on U.S. election cybersecurity tells associates he expects to be fired. Top U.S. cybersecurity official Christopher Krebs, who worked on protecting the election from hackers but drew the ire of Trump White House over efforts to debunk disinformation, has told associates he expects to be fired. 3 sources familiar with the matter told Reuters.
Familiar with us around with our elections. Top U.S. cybersecurity official Christopher Krebs, who told Reuters last year that the 2020 election would be the most secure to date, has told associates he expects to be fired by the White House. That's according to an exclusive Reuters report on Thursday, citing 3 sources familiar with the matter. Krebs, who heads the Department of Homeland Security's Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, has drawn praise from both Democrats and Republicans for his handling of the U.S. election, which generally ran smoothly despite persistent fears that foreign hackers might try to undermine the vote. But according to the 3 people familiar with the matter, Krebs drew the ire of the Trump White House over a website run by his agency dubbed Rumor Control, which debunks misinformation about the election. White House officials have asked for content to be edited or removed from the website, which has pushed back against numerous false claims about the election, including that Democrats are behind a mass election fraud scheme. In response, officials at the agency have refused to delete accurate information. Sources told Reuters the White House was also angry about a post from Krebs rejecting a conspiracy theory that falsely claims an intelligence agency supercomputer and program purportedly named Hammer and Scorecard could have flipped votes nationally. Krebs said on Twitter that no such system exists, saying, quote, "This is not a real thing. Don't fall for it." On Thursday, Gabriel Sterling, the voting system implementation manager in Georgia, where a hand count audit of the presidential election will begin Friday due to the narrow margin between President Donald Trump and President-elect Joe Biden, cited the assessment from Krebs.
Hammer and Scorecard, this is him talking, not Gabe talking, is nonsense and a hoax. So anybody's claiming that things are being flipped by a super secret computer developed by the CIA is just not speaking, well, is speaking nonsense, I guess. I'll go on that.
Trump has yet to concede and has repeatedly...
Like, guys, this is all Republicans have now. Like, wild conspiracy theory. This is all they had. This is all they got. Are you kidding me? I'm the only straightish mod, and we have to fight to the death now. Oh no, Revolt, you're straight? Oh, unfortunate. Like, I know that there's like a lot of wild and crazy stuff that the U.S. government does. Like, I know that. However, Donald Trump has just I'm not sure if we're ever going to actually know all of the crazy stuff that happened under the Donald Trump administration, just because they've given so much, like, bullshit cover to everything else the U.S. has been doing. I wouldn't be surprised if there was, like, weird, like, eugenics programs by now in, like, the military.
Unsubstantiated claims of electoral fraud. On Thursday, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency issued an unequivocal response to such claims, saying in a statement, quote, "There is no evidence that any voting system deleted or lost votes, changed votes, or was in any way compromised." On Thursday, Krebs did not return messages seeking comment. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency and the White House have declined comment.
It's true. I mean, that's how leftism works.
Republicans should stop their shenanigans about an election.
We will not stop our shenanigans. I would just be able to copy and paste it. Yeah, exactly. Yes, if you go a little bit further, you become gay. It's true. That's what happened to me. I was originally fairly conservative, and then I realized I was trans, and that made me into a socialist, just by default. Now, I'm not sure what dark magic Caitlyn Jenner had to use to, like, return her back to her conservative roots, but we're looking into it. The leftist union is looking into it as we speak, okay? I thought Jack advocated dismantling from the inside. I do. One mod for every 4 users. I do advocate for evolutionary socialism. That's what I advocate for. But I also advocate for the Second Amendment because I'm not so naive that I think that something bad couldn't happen, you know? Mountains of cash make you a conservative. True. It's true. If I ever get mountains of cash, by the way, it's all going straight into politics until we get money out of politics, baby. It's just mind poisoning for Caitlyn Jenner. True.